everybody. Thank you for boarding Educating Aubrey plane.
All right, so let's tell everybody where we just got back from a trip to the beach. What did we take to get to the beach and to get home?
An airplane.
And what is it that you asked me when we were sitting in the airport?
How do airplanes fly?
All right, so I think you've asked me that one, and one time you asked me how did they stay up and how did they work?
Yes, how they work, how they stay up, and how do they fly.
Right, so today we're going to talk about this thing called lift. And we're going to talk about two things, right? Sort of the two parts of it. All right, so are you ready for that? Do you want to give an announcement where everybody should buckle up and tell them where the... Don't tell them where the exits are. We want them to stay until the end.
Everybody, please buckle up. And we are heading to...
Educating Aubrey.
Educating Aubrey.
So if we look at an airplane wing, it has a shape that kind of looks like this. And this shape is called an airfoil. Okay?
Okay.
So, a couple of things happen, and we're going to draw some air. And what happens is this air, as it comes in, it's going to change direction. This part that goes over the top comes around like this. And when it gets here, it kind of keeps going down. And then this air here, it goes underneath. And it gets sort of caught up with this, and it gets sort of pushed down, right? And so we're going to have two different things happening. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Newton's laws of motion. Have you ever heard of Isaac Newton?
No.
Have you ever heard of a Fig Newton?
No.
You haven't heard of Fig Newtons? The little cookies with... Oh, okay. So Isaac Newton is a famous guy, and he came up with these things called laws of motion. And so Newton's third law of motion is that any force has equal force in the opposite direction.
Okay.
So we have our airfoil. It has this little space here, and so we have this little piece of air going over it, and so if we have this air that comes here, and it has this down here, so if we have every action has equal and opposite reaction. If we have this air pushing down, what kind of force do we have to make that true, to make that balanced? Well, go ahead, say it aloud.
Lift off.
Well, so one of the things that creates this phenomenon that we call lift is since we have this action down, that air pushing down creates a force that has to be pushing up on the wing.
Everybody get ready for lift off.
There we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! Now we're above the clouds.
So that's Newton's law of motion. The wing, because of its curvature, is going to deflect a certain amount of air down, and the force of that air being deflected down creates a force that is upward. But that is not the whole story. There's a second part of the story. So the second part of the story is we're going to talk about a guy named Bernoulli.
Bernoulli.
Yes, can you say Bernoulli?
Bernoulli.
Yes. So we're going to look up Bernoulli.
Bernoulli.
I think it's... Is it Daniel? It is Daniel. I thought he had a funnier name than that. This is Bernoulli. He has this thing called Bernoulli's Principle. So, Bernoulli principle demonstration. So Bernoulli has this. So the Bernoulli Principle is that whenever a fluid moves over a surface, the faster it moves, the lower pressure that it exerts. And so here's one of the examples. I'm going to try and find an animated example of it. So if you have a piece of paper and you hold your mouth over it, if you blow over the top of the paper, it will actually lift up, because as that air flows over the top of the paper.
Hands without hands.
No, it'll just lift up and it'll kind of flutter. Yeah, let's see if we can. Yeah, like this. Watch. See, he blows over the top of it and the paper flips up.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is the air going over the top of that piece of paper exerts less pressure than the air underneath it, and so it pushes up on the piece of paper. So we have the same thing happening with our wing. Because of this shape, the air, if you watch it, it will sort of bunch up, and when it comes around this corner, it spreads out again, and so it gets accelerated over the top, and across the bottom, since it's flat, it stays slow. And so on the bottom, we get high pressure air, and on the top, we get low pressure air. And so if you have high pressure on the bottom and low pressure on the top, which direction does the wing get pushed? Does it get pushed up towards the low, or
up?
Yeah. So this high pressure pushes up. And so what happens is anytime that we have this shape, this airfoil shape, whenever the plane starts moving forward and the air starts moving over it, these two things start happening. The air that flows over the top gets accelerated and it gets pushed down, and that makes it lower pressure air, and we combine that with this force being pushed down, and those two things together push up and create lift. And so as long as the plane is moving forward fast enough, it will push enough air down, and it will have enough pressure difference on its wings to lift it up into the air. And that's how it works. Yes, tell them we're landing.
We are landing. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have landed too.
That's called touchdown when you land.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
And we have...
Now we're pulling up to the gate.
We're pulling up to the gate, and...
Everyone, please be careful when opening overhead bins, because items may have shifted in flight. We thank you for flying Air Aubrey and learning about lift. Tell them what's the last thing we say at the end of all of our videos.
Like and subscribe.
That's right. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Good job.
And...